Yeah, and the issue there actually from yesterday was around the grabbing, the grappling.
Yeah.
Defenders not even looking at the ball, just concentrating on grabbing their man. Do the officials need to catch up on this?
No,
because a few years ago, everyone was saying, oh, goalkeepers are given too much protection. Now it's almost gone the other way, where we're saying people need more protection in the box. Right?
Yeah, they do.
Is it too much, the grabbing?
Yeah, it is too much. I don't think every contact in the box is a foul, without shadow of doubt. But there was one in particular where Declan Rice, he had the Chelsea player at the front, and it's when David Raya makes that outstanding save. For me, Declan Rice is probably a bit lucky there because he's grappling the Chelsea player. But yeah, obviously here, I don't know, Sanchez is saying he wants a foul there. I don't think he wants a foul. I just think he goes into no man's land. I do think goalkeepers get protected too easily. Me personally, that's where when I was playing, I stood on the goalkeeper. So you're trying to block the goalkeeper from coming. He'd have a defender in front and want me that side. He won't want me to be that side of him so he can get a clear run at him. So I think that started from when Vicario used to struggle at Tottenham and people used it to their advantage where he couldn't really come for the ball and players have now started crowding it. So it's probably what they work on in training. It's boring because when we used to do set pieces in training, I used to sit there and think this is boring, but it's something that's come back into the game and I think, as you can see now, it's working and everyone's going to use it to their advantage. I understand people want like the Arsenals, Man Cities, Liverpool to play the attractive football. But why should not like the teams, and this is not being disrespectful because they're flying at the moment, do ever so well, like Brentford, when they've got Coyote, you can launch the ball into the box. Why not use it as a weapon? Because if you've got the big centre-halves that are going to come up, get the flick, Thiago is a threat, I'd use it to my advantage because I know I'm not going to be able to out-football some of these teams. So what am I going to do? Go to my plan A or plan B and use a different trick to win a game of football.
Well, that's what it used to be, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because you had, I guess, middling teams in the Premier League using set pieces as their point of difference. And now we're seeing the teams at the top of the league being able to, I know all the money is in the Premier League, they can afford set piece coaches, every club, but we're seeing the top Premier League clubs hire all the talent within the set piece coach pool, buying in that talent and then beating all the other teams at set pieces. Is that fair?
Is that saying unfair? That Arsenal are the best at it, right?
Yeah,
they need to win the league this year. If it's working for them, why wouldn't they be playing towards that advantage?
If Gabriel is one of the best headers, if not the best one who goes and attacks it, why not? No one's found a way to deal with Gabriel at the moment, so why not? And what you have to do is have two people that can deliver the ball brilliantly. And Declan Rice does it one side and Saka does it the other side. That is something you worked on because you asked loads of people. They usually hit the first man and defenders get frustrated. You've gone up. I've probably seen them both hit the first man probably once all season. That's how good they've been. So huge credit. That's a skill in itself to do that. So, and huge credit must go to Dave because he does that himself and that's brilliant. That is magnificent.
He's such a stats nerd, isn't he?
But
I mean that in a loving way.
No, in the nicest possible way. He is the best at that.
Oh.
And it helps. But that's all I'm saying because you're going to get a big head.
He's not in a great mood and he's giving you compliments.
I'm in a great mood.
No, you came in a bit.
What do you mean?
How often are we going to say about Arsenal that when the games are tight, they ended up winning with a set piece? Chelsea were pretty impressive today. 59% possession. They tried to control the game for large parts. But ultimately, if you've got this armoury that Arsenal have, if you can score and make the difference from set pieces, then you take that opportunity. And that was the case again for Chelsea, for Arsenal today. Chelsea, for the majority, it was such a game of grapples and holding people all over the place. And just the one person at the bottom, Reece James, is marking Gabriel. He's not tight. He takes his eye off the ball. He's looking at Gabriel. Now he looks at the ball. And in that moment, that's the last time he looks at the ball in this passage. But in that moment, Gabriel's set off. Now he's got a problem. He doesn't know where the ball is. He doesn't know when the adjustment needs to be made. Arsenal have been great. They've run everybody across to create this 1v1 moment. And Reece James is so flat-footed because he hasn't got a clue where the ball is. Gabriel on the move. Arsenal know exactly where that ball's going. And in that moment, 6 Chelsea players taken out of the situation. Each Arsenal player is now on the right side of the defender. So once Gabriel wins that ball over the head of João Pedro, he could do nothing about it. Each of those Arsenal players are in a position. As Gabriel heads it back across, it's Saliba that gets it. It could have been Gyökeres. He was in just as good a position as well. And Chelsea could do nothing about it. So is it going to be the same pattern? Reece James tries to mark Gabriel a little bit differently on this occasion, but now we've got space for others. And Sarr does exactly the same defensively as his captain did earlier. He takes his eye completely off the ball, only notices it when it's far too late. Timber's got the march on him. Gets in there first, really good delivery yet again, really good header, because Sarr can't do anything because he's not looking at the ball. And for anyone who was questioning whether it was a foul on the Chelsea goalkeeper, I think we can see quite clearly it wasn't. Sanchez caused an awful lot of issue asking for that foul. It wasn't, but he doesn't care because his team worked on it, his team were impressive. And in another game of fine margins, that is the difference. And that is now the most winning goals from corners in Premier League history for.
Welcome everyone, we're at the Emirates Stadium, which is celebratory right now off the back of another Arsenal win, 2-1 against Chelsea. It's a 5-point gap at the top again, one game in hand. We end the weekend in a sense, Gary, where we started it. What about this game though? There was a whole lot of jeopardy around it.
Yeah, I mean look, it's a very good week for Arsenal. You think about where they were a week last Wednesday after the Wolves game, and there were big questions, and I think one of the toughest things in a title race is when you're actually asked to play second and your competitor, your main rival's playing first. And City have had that advantage in the last week where they've played 2 games ahead of Arsenal. I don't know how many times that's going to happen. I actually think that, to be fair, look, it always happens, and to be fair, we're on TV, but it is a massive advantage to play first. So I don't know how many occasions that's going to happen before the end of the season, but I think there is something when it gets to the last 6 or 8 games where maybe they should play together or on the same day. I don't know how that can work, because obviously you want to try and get every single game on, but I do think it's a big advantage. And Arsenal, Mikel Arteta before the game was asked by Patrick Davison whether it's an added pressure seeing your rivals win last night, and he said no, because we just need to do our job. That's the standard answer. It absolutely is a lot more difficult. You know, if Leeds get a goal last night in the 90th minute, Arsenal just lift themselves on a Saturday night and they've not even played. If City get over the line and win, you don't go down, you don't get down in the dumps or anything like that, but you just think, right, we definitely have to win tomorrow, you know what I mean? You've got no cushion, you've got no room for error. So, look, for them to respond like they have after that Wolves game and get the 2 wins, in difficult games. Tottenham, I know that Tottenham aren't playing well at the moment, but it's a North London derby and it should never be taken for granted. They had difficulties in that game in the first half where Tottenham got level. And then today, again, it was a scruffy game, but it doesn't matter. You're going to get moments like that. Mikel Arteta would want to see, I think, a bit more fluidity in his team, but Chelsea made it difficult for them. I thought Chelsea played well in the second half. I wanted to see more belief from Chelsea in the first half. We'll come on to them shortly. But for Arsenal, set pieces, those corners are they're a saviour, aren't they? I mean, they're a saviour in one hand because they are so good at them. They've mastered the art of set-piece delivery, of making the right runs, of confidence, of psychologically destroying the other teams before they even started. Almost teams are like sort of in panic mode. I felt sorry for Reece James, actually, specifically on corners, because he was given the task of blocking Gabriel, and I just think you're overcomplicating it. I know what they're trying to do with that. They're trying to get Reece James, who's quite stocky in build, to block him before he makes his run. But it becomes about a height thing in the end. And I just think that Reece James ordinarily would never pick up the best header of the ball in the opposition team. So why he's given that job, I don't know. Now, look, I remember many, many years ago playing football, I was once given the job of blocking Duncan Ferguson and blocking Les Ferdinand in games. They were 2 exceptional headers of the ball. And so I was given the job of wrestling them and fighting them and stopping them running, so that actually other players, Nemanja Vidic or one of the other centre-backs, could go and head the ball. It wasn't Nemanja Vidic, actually. It was probably in the Jaap Stam era or Gary Pallister era. But I was there to be sort of like stocky and sort of, if they were making a run from, say, the penalty spot, I was there to block. But after the first one, you could see that Reece James was struggling. So why don't you just put Chalobah onto Gabriel and just say, look, enough's enough. Let's not overcomplicate things. Let's not try and be clever. And that, to me, was a key aspect of the game. And Arsenal today, look, they've won, and that's all that matters. That is all that matters. And it's a tough game, and you're going to get games where you're not quite at your best. I still think that Mikel Arteta will want to see a bit more fluidity in open play and creating more chances. But I think they can really, to be fair, be quite happy tonight about where they are going into this sort of midweek game that they've got.
And around the whole wobble thing, which is actually now yesterday's news, last week's game at Tottenham, which was one thing, and this was a very different game today, it seems to me, you may or may not agree, that they have demonstrated actually quite a good degree of poise. It's like, you know, they certainly the players, however nervous the crowd are, the players, to me, look a solid, coherent, with it bunch.
Yeah, they are. I mean, look, it was a wobble because I think if you just sort of add up, I think it was Forest, Liverpool, the defeat against Manchester United, and then the draw v Wolves. The draw v Wolves off the back of those sort of three in the period of like 4 or 5 games, that is a major wobble for a title challenging team. So I don't think we're wrong to say it was a wobble and that, you know, you're asking questions, but they've responded well. And you've got to make sure that when you're on a little run like that in a season like this, that you do come out of it. And it's very difficult when you're playing games every 3 days to maintain performance all the time. You just have to be physically strong, you have to be resolute, you have to be making sure that you win when you don't play well, and they've got that about them. You know, it's a shock. I just heard a little bit of Saliba's interview on the pitch at the end of the game, and these, you know, the way in which he talks about conceding that goal before half time, he said that's not good enough, that's not what we do. They really do value clean sheets, they value their defensive work, they're really sort of like quite strict on it. I thought in the first 10 minutes of the game Arsenal adapted well when Chelsea looked like they had something going on with Palmer in that pocket, but then they pushed Gabriel or Saliba in. So Arteta works. Arteta, to be fair to him, he sees danger. They do respect the defensive side of the game a lot. It's one of their strongest aspects, and they'll be disappointed with the goal they conceded at Tottenham last week, the goal they conceded at Chelsea today, because it's caused them a little bit of pain. And I actually thought Chelsea were doing well in that first 15-20 minutes of the second half, but they get in front. We'll come on to Chelsea and how they get in front in a minute, but they get in front and then they hang in there, and sort of at the end it was a little bit scary. But this crowd that are going to be coming in here for the next 10 weeks, there's going to be a few more of those.
It's interesting you talk about game every 3 or 4 days. Obviously they've just had a week off, but that's very rare. If they go all the way, they've got a favourable FA Cup draw at Mansfield. They've probably got a favourable Champions League draw against Bayer Leverkusen. If they keep going through the rest of the season, they're going to have more games which aren't Premier League games than are Premier League games. So, I mean, how do you deal with all that when probably in the psyche of the average Arsenal fan, winning the Premier League is number one?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, because Mikel Arteta and this team need to win a trophy, they can't go and then just sort of, you know, if they'd won loads of trophies in the last few years, you could definitely prioritise the Premier League. So if they'd won FA Cups, League Cups, won a Champions League, say, then you could say, right, okay, it's all in on the Premier League. But they're not in that position to be able to do that. And they have built a squad here where he's amassed a group of 22 players that you could have 2 different starting 11s if they were all fit. So that's why they've done that. They've got a great squad, and he's going to need to trust that squad. Bit of a worry that Declan Rice looked like he did something over in that far side, and he came off early because he's the one player that you think they can't respond. But that's their